All right, great.
Excellent. Okay. Very good. Wanting to welcome everybody as they come into our webinar this afternoon. Welcome to Diggin In. We want to get started pretty shortly with our episode 8 this afternoon, but just going to give a few moments for folks to enter the webinar space and settle in for a wonderful talk by our guest speaker today. Let's see, my name is Suanna Crowley. I'm hosting for Lindsay Randall, and I'll be taking you through the afternoon's presentation, working with the chat and the Q&A functions, and we'll start in just a few moments with a little bit of introduction. Okay, let's see. Jasmine, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and start.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, hello and welcome to episode 8 of Diggin In. This is season 5, our final season of this series of webinar conversations with researchers and archaeologists doing amazing work around the world. I am Suanna Crowley, the host of the talk today. I am the past president of the Massachusetts Archaeological Society and a geoarchaeologist up in New England. Diggin In is a series of live presentations from scholars around the country, co-sponsored by the Robert S. Peabody Institute of Archaeology and the Massachusetts Archaeological Society. We are going to begin with a land acknowledgement for the land that the Peabody Institute and its school, Phillips Academy, are on. Please join me in this for just a moment. Phillips Academy occupies the land of the Pennacook and Pawtucket peoples and the lands of the contemporary Abenaki, Massachusetts, Wampanoag, Wabanaki, Pokanoket, and Nipmuc nations. We honor all Indigenous peoples who are here now, have been here for time immemorial, and will be here in the future. We acknowledge Indigenous genocide and the continued oppression of Native peoples, voices, cultures, and spiritualities. We understand how education has been used by settler institutions in the attempted erasure of Indigenous peoples. We commit to interrogating the histories of and our complicity in colonization, centering Native voices and communities, and dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism at Phillips Academy and beyond. Thank you for that. Join us every other Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time through December for our presentations. For a schedule of dates and presenters, please visit the peabody.andover.edu website or the massarchaeology.org website. And if you're enjoying our programming, please consider expanding your impact by becoming a member of Mass Archaeology. We are able to bring you outstanding programs like this and wonderful guest speakers like Jasmine today because of the support of viewers like you. So today we are very excited to welcome Jasmine Mathis. Jasmine is the creator of the Atwater Kent Collection, Meaning of Citizenship program, and a collections assistant for Drexel University. Mathis graduated with her master's in museum leadership from Drexel University in December of 2021. And she has previous background in anthropology and archaeology. She's coming to us today from Philadelphia. During and at the conclusion of the talk, viewers are able to submit questions via the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We'll give our speakers some time to answer as many of those as they can, with the understanding that we might not get to all of them. So with all of that housekeeping all the way done, I want to welcome Jasmine and thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. I'm going to share my screen so I can pull up my PowerPoint so I can start our conversation today. Okay. Please let me know if you cannot see anything, but thank you so much. But good afternoon and welcome to the Digging In series. Welcome again. My name is Jasmine Mathis, and I will be speaking to you all about my personal research with the Atwater Kent Collection and my master's practicum, which is titled the Atwater Kent Collection, Meeting a Citizenships Program. So first, I wanted to get into a personal introduction because I know that everyone in this field is so diverse and different and so interested in different topics and everything. So we all kind of have this map of, we did different jobs. We all end up kind of in the same place, interested in the same objects and history and everything. So it's always exciting when I hear people's background. So I wanted to share mine with you all. So like my introduction said, I got my undergraduate degree in anthropology and archaeology from the University of Maryland. For my studies, I then worked for a multiple different cultural resource management firms as a field and lab archaeologist. During that time, I was able to jump on a bunch of different projects. I was thrown on to a highway expansion project for I-95. And then I was also thrown on to a bunch of different development projects, all within Maryland, mostly along the Eastern Shore. And that was a really, really eye-opening experience. And that eventually led me to getting my master's in museum leadership from Drexel University. My work with my practicum and my master's has allowed me to become a collections assistant for Drexel and the Atwater Kent Collection, which has been really awesome. I've been in this job for almost a year now, and really every day is different. So our goal as collections assistants for the Atwater Kent Collection and for Drexel is to catalog and eventually digitize all of the collection for public use and for uses for other museums. We've already started a website where you can see a preview. I'll talk more about that, but our main goal as a team is to make sure that we can get this collection back to the people. The Atwater Kent Museum's mission overall was to collect, preserve, interpret, and provide exhibits and educational programs using its collection to tell the important stories of Philadelphia's past and to give context for its present. Due to its closure in 2018, the city of Philadelphia has lost an important piece of its culture, and many stories still remain untold. The most egregious thing about the Atwater Kent or the Philadelphia History Museum closing is that it was quintessentially one of the museums that showed and displayed specific Philadelphian history. We have the National Liberty Museum here. We have many museums about forefathers in the Civil War, but we do not have a museum specifically for Philadelphians and their personal history. So this is why it's really important that we are able to get it digitized again, because we really want to focus this collection and have a mindset of this is the people's collection. So more about the collection. Since the closing of its doors, the Philadelphia History Museum at the Atwater Kent closed almost 4 years ago, and the boards of trustees have worked really worked with the city of Philadelphia and Drexel University to transfer its collection and trusteeship to Drexel. This year, Drexel University provided an online public access preview of about 501 objects with 42 examples of different categories, with the intention of showing the range of objects that make up the collection. Some of these categories include abolition and slavery, advertisement, agriculture, apparel, education, incarceration, politics, and sports. And just to personalize it a little bit more into the collection and really get you guys to understand why it's the people's collection, every day we work with scrapbooks, local business cards, trade cards, personal photo books, household items, children's toys. So we're constantly touching things that past Philadelphians, and these are everyday Philadelphians are using. So please feel free after this to go to philadelphiahistory.org to see that preview. The preview is about is 501 objects, but overall there is over 100,000 objects in this collection. So we really do have a lot of work to do, but it is going to be all worth it in the end. Some more notable objects include George Washington's desk, Lincoln's hat, Philly the Dogsmore, Philadelphia ephemera, and some prison doors from Eastern State Penitentiary, which is a local historic prison. So the incentive and mission statement of my practicum work is to generate crucial conversations among grade students, teachers, and their families about race by integrating different forms of pop culture and entertainment in parallel with politics and government policies from the time. By understanding the past, these conversations inform and reflect concepts that we still see in modern society today. My project, the Meaning of Citizenship program, is one of 3 programs that were created under the Atwater Kent Hidden Treasures program and practicum. There also is a program called Oh, If I Were a Soger Boy, that is by my colleague Caleb Craig. That program relates more to blackface and minstrel shows and how you can still see these forms of hate in media today. The other one is The Fun to Dress Barbie by Jason Valdez, and it shows how the first African-American Barbie and how she changed everything in society today through representation. So the target audiences for our programs were 3rd and 4th grade elementary school students, school groups, and summer camps. And then our secondary audience really kind of turned more to teachers, parents, and field trip volunteers who are there to support the young adults. So the specific goal of the Meaning of Citizenship program, which is my program, was to help young adults identify examples of rights and responsibilities of citizenship. This includes personal, political, and economic rights, and it also includes personal and civic responsibilities. This goal is also included in the Pennsylvania state standards for 3rd grade social studies. So I was really hoping by zeroing in on this goal that we can really try to get more teachers interested in showing their students this program. I use the following themes to reach this goal. I used the Great Migration, which really I was looking to show how African-Americans, newly freed African-Americans migrated from the South to the North, mostly in Philadelphia, and how they acclimated themselves through that move. Naturalization, citizenship, Americanization, and abolitionists. So now that we have established the goal and the goals of the program, I now wanted to go into object introduction and description and what objects we really used to, show these kids our themes and how we really want them to view citizenship of that time. So our first object that this program will highlight is a letter from Mother Bethel AME Church, which is still standing today in South Philadelphia. And the letter is titled, Should Negroes Come North? This letter is a description, is kind of a letter of intent and action to newly freed African-American slaves to come to Philadelphia for better opportunities in a life in Philadelphia, and better opportunities for a better life. And this was written and sent out in 1910. Next is a pamphlet promoting the various issues of a citywide Americanization plan with objectives for again, newly freed African-American migrants coming to Philadelphia with the intended goal of becoming loyal, literate, and able to speak English. So that was the ultimate goal of this pamphlet, and that's what they wanted to show. This pamphlet also includes the race makeup of Philadelphia in 1923, and it really has detailed instructions on how to conduct Americanization courses for that time. This also includes like hymns, anything that you could really see so people can use this to teach people how to be American citizens during that time. Lastly, and the most central object to my program are the female and male Quaker dolls. These type of dolls were made by American Quaker abolitionists as a teaching tool, and they were designed for the English market to show other international Quakers how these African Americans looked once they were integrated into society. And they were made in 1830 to 1840. I loved these little dolls because it really does show, really what was happening at the time in a physical representation. So now I will walk you through the hypothetical interactive portion of the Meeting of Citizenships program. Sadly, I did my master's during COVID. We did everything through online classes, and we didn't have really access to any students or children, mostly because, we were at home for a couple of years. But I really would love to share with you guys my vision for what we're doing, what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to walk you through. Please take in mind that this is all hypothetical, and I do not work for an active museum. So I was hoping that this interactive portion would be about 45 minutes. I was hoping we'd have 30 minutes of discussion before the guided tour, showing the various featured items that I've shown before, and 15 minutes of discussion after. I was also hoping that this tour could be led by a Drexel-appointed tour guide or an accompanying teacher. And then just to keep in mind, again, the goal is to help young adults identify examples of rights and responsibilities of citizenship. So for the first discussion, I really wanted to focus on the central question of, to young adults, what does an American look like to you? As we know, American is a very broad term, especially because America is supposed to be a melting pot. So I thought it was very interesting to see what each individual young adult, what do they really think an American is, and get their cogs going. And I also asked them, this is before the tour, to please draw and describe an American citizen using the blank figure, as you can see below. I created a set of supporting questions to help guide them through this in case, they get confused and see what they want to focus on specifically that is American about their doll or their figure. So some supporting questions are, what style of clothing does your doll wear? What job does your doll have? What kind of responsibilities do they have in their family? What do they learn in school? What is their favorite subject? Who is their favorite musician or artist? And what is their favorite sport? So very simple questions that really can relate to the American identity. So once again, this I didn't have the chance to test this with a big audience, but I did have the chance to show and walk a fourth grader through online. But it was, one very cute fourth grade girl. Her name was Nora, and this was her outcome of the first set of discussion that I she made for me. She really focused, this was during the summer, so she really focused on the 4th of July, and I think that says a lot about her idea of an American, because to me, it meant that her idea of an American has nationalistic pride and, likes to celebrate. It was very cute. I thought it was a fun drawing. But again, it's most important that they draw this figure and then they're able to interact with the Black Quaker dolls because they can see and look for the similarities or the contrast between both of these figures. After they are taken through the guided tour, the ending discussion questions, they will be asked based on your observation of the Black Quaker dolls. How do they differ from the ones that you drew at the beginning of this exhibition? So we're not only looking for visual differences between the figures and the dolls, but we also would like to show the young adults and allow them to see how time has physically changed what it is to be American. We also hope, we as in my team, but I also hope that this activity would help the children and young adults question what it means to be an American, what an American citizen looks like, how do they behave, what their values are, and who ultimately decides what encompasses the American identity and how does it change over time. Overall, I believe that it also is important to understand that the American identity is always changing, and so are the individuals and entities that can influence it. So I think that's very great implication to get from this activity. So just a collections update, since I'm at work now, and I'd just like to give you guys a little update about what's going on. Recently, my team has moved the collection from East Falls, which is north of this, a little bit of north in the city, to Center City, Philadelphia. So work's been very hectic, moving over 100,000 historic items. They're big, they're small, they're archives, they're physical large objects and statues and busts. So it has been very hectic and a large game of Tetris, which has been very exciting. I also had the opportunity to work more closely with art handlers and learn more about, kind of what it takes and what kind of skills they have about preservation, conservation at the time. So overall, it's been a whirlwind, but I really loved working in collections, and it's been a good experience after my master's. So do you have any questions or comments? I'm ready to, turn back the conversation.
Very good. Thank you for that, Jasmine. What a wonderful conversation. What wonderful insight into the collection and what you're doing with it for engagements. Let me just pause for a moment and pop over to our Q&A. And let's see. One question has to do with designing these things so that they move beyond that thought experiment, sort of the restriction of the pandemic and not being able to launch them, sort of in the way that you had imagined. Are you thinking about it for the future? Are you fine-tuning how you'll be able to deliver and engage the public, particularly younger students, with this material kind of now as we're getting back into more in-person mode? Are you thinking you're still going to want something that's in hybrid and have digital access to it?
So that's a very good question. So I had the opportunity to not only speak to Nora, who is a great resource, but I also had a chance to speak to some educators around the city on their kind of feedback on how to improve this project. But currently, since the move, it's been honestly months and months and months of preparation, where kind of engagement with the materials right now has been on the back burner, mostly because it's impossible to pull objects when they're all packed up in boxes. So I think mostly the focus of my team right now is to basically inventory all 100,000 items, rehouse them, hopefully clean them, and we're hoping that'll be kind of months, maybe even a year in the making. So right now, I think we're kind of more focused on that, and then we can get more students from Drexel and from everywhere else working with this project, and hopefully maybe picking this up as well. So kind of a work in progress, a very long answer.
Always, always. No, I think that's great. Another question really kind of sort of bounces off of that one, and is, you described being starting life as an archaeologist. Maybe talk to us a little bit about this sort of shift into museum settings and working with collections, and sort of the skill sets that you've developed above and beyond cultural resources management and archaeology theory. How have you sort of shifted your work practice to adapt into this career path you're on?
Oh, that's again another really awesome question.
Good
So
for today.
yeah, so I've always wanted to be an archaeologist that was from when I was little, and I love working with objects. That was my number one thing. So naturally, when I started cultural resource management, it's more about what the client wants, other than what can we do with these materials to tell a story about the community around these objects. Working with cultural resources management, you mostly work with developers who they have ultimate ownership of the collection. So it kind of stops there. You dig up the object and it kind of stops there. And for me, I did love being on the field. It's really awesome being outside for your job. You have, a 40-hour-a-week gym. It was amazing. But for me, I really wanted to work more with objects and to tell a story. And so naturally, I started looking into, especially when you talk with other archaeologists, a lot of them also are in contact with people in museums. So then I started to have more conversations with people in the museum field. And I think they kind of encouraged me to pursue my master's in museum studies. Just because, working with expanding highways and stuff like that, you also run into kind of angry people who they don't want that in their community. And that's not really what I wanted. I really wanted to work with the community instead of working with developers that don't really care. Not saying that working for cultural resource management wasn't amazing. You really work and love in your crew. It's really an amazing experience, and I would never take that back. But really the reason I moved to museums is because I did want to tell a story and work closer with the community.
That's fantastic. No, I think that's a great point to make, particularly because we have, such an interesting sort of job market happening at the moment. And a lot of archaeologists are conscious of where they can take their skills. And so it's nice to know where their interests and their skills can lead them into really purposeful, meaningful work. So thank you for that. One last question, and that really has to do with, so what else is in the collection? What other kinds of exciting things do you anticipate being able to work with and interpret in the future? What did the move give you a chance to sort of put your eyes on and think about for future engagements and work?
So we also have a lot of stuff about the Civil War that I around the Civil War era that I didn't really get the chance to touch on. And this is really including actual Civil War letters written by soldiers sent to their families. So I had the chance to, kind of Xerox and look through things, but I am waiting for a student to, come in with that topic to work with those kind of archives and letters, because it's so interesting and it's so personal and it's so authentic. So I would love if someone could, you know, tell the story of one of the soldiers that we have their letters of. Other kind of interesting things, we do have a lot of trade cards and stuff from local businesses where you can map, where we would love as a team to map out these old businesses where they used to be and kind of make a map of old local businesses that used to be around and really get kind of the public interested in being like, oh, I used to shop there. Oh, my grandma gave me this thing from that local business. Oh, I have all of this. So I think that working with students and also kind of getting input from the public about what they want to see in the collection is really exciting. So that's what we're kind of looking forward to this time. So maybe some social media stuff. That would be nice.
Or we will have another opportunity to invite you back for a talk with Mass Archaeology or the Robert S. Peabody. I think that would be fantastic. And if there is a student out there who catches that as your possible invitation to work on Civil War materials, then we will gladly put them in touch with you for future opportunities. I think that's the amazing thing about collections in particular, is that so many of them are just sitting there waiting to be looked at and waiting for somebody to tell their stories, to dive in and do the analysis and make those connections. So we applaud the work you're doing, and we thank you for joining us today. Let me just wrap up with another thank you to Jasmine for her awesome presentation, and to all of you who have joined us today. As we creep toward the holiday season, we thank you for sharing your time with us. Our next lecture is going to be Wednesday, November 23rd. You heard that correctly, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And we will be joined by Tara Tetrald and Suzanne Johnson, who are going to be speaking about the Dorsey Project and discoveries that defy modern stereotypes about emancipated African-American women, instead of offering a new perspective about what African-American families achieved and contributed to society in the late 19th century. That will be a really insightful talk. Again, we thank you and remind you that we rely on the support of our viewers and friends and donors. Keep on the lookout if you're on the Massachusetts Archaeology Society list for the kickoff of our annual appeal, our annual fundraising round, where we work on raising money for our collections, for the care and feeding of our collections, and the ability to tell the stories at the Robbins Museum of Archaeology in Middleborough. So we want to thank Jasmine once again and thank all of you for joining us, and we will see you on November 23rd. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.